enjoys, and we are going to be opening up with the Canadians to the Beavers take to the field. It is going to be the bros, Puppy Paw and Wham. They're going to be clashing with two known names from SC2. It's Leenock and State to open this one. State, of course, on his Mongols, as it almost always is, and Leenock with what is more and more these days feeling like his signature French.
Yeah, looks like Wham and Puppy are coming out here. Possibly the strongest combination that you can select from that team. Partly because if there are any two players that are pretty used to playing together, then it's probably these two. So maybe Vortex and Lucifron could actually compare. But yeah, team chemistry isn't gonna be an issue for two identical twins. I think they spent enough time together in their life to develop a good enough chemistry.
I mean, by most teams, like, length of existence, I think these two spent enough time in utero together to make a good team, right? Most teams don't even last 9 months, so I'm sure they are in sync. They understand what they need to do together, and the brilliant thing is, like, both these guys became notorious for their Mongols, so it was always kind of like either one could play it. But I do think Puppy Paw, I'd lean to him being the slightly better Ottoman player right now, so it just makes a lot of sense to pass it across to him. Like, I think a lot of people still look at what Puppy Paw done in the early days of this patch with Ottomans as the foundation for how they moved forward.
Quick trivia question to you. Was Puppy Paw or Wham born first?
I would say Wham.
No, Puppy was born first.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he preceded his brother by 2 minutes time. Two identical twins out there with an AOE3 background, and we've talked a lot about these guys. Their story is so cool in AOE4. Showcases that even if you don't have any major competitive background in other games, you could still become pros, and that's exactly what has happened to these two.
So what you're saying is that 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, is indeed the difference between getting I think it's a top 8 finish, or getting a 13th to 16th. That's pretty impressive.
I mean, it depends on what exactly that 2 minutes is about. For example, making your first night in a French mirror, you make 2 minutes difference. That's kind of notable. Maybe not so much when it comes to the time of birth, though.
No, it was like there's the alpha check. Puppy Paw came out first. He's like, all right, I get first rotation on the PC. You have no rebuttal against this. I am the older bro. Respect.
Older bro, lol. Anyways, State is going to send his Spearman over to Leenock's side for a time being, so they know fully well that there's going to be aggression coming from Wham. Indeed, here come the Spearman, and not much damage done here to the gold mine. Pretty lucky spawn as well for Leenock, having it spawn on the backside, so possibly even without State's help, that gold mine would have been safe for quite a while, but there it is. Double Dark Age aggression, actually, so they do want to commit to pushing off the French from that gold mine.
The State is going to struggle to long-term keep up with this, right? Just think about, like, realistically, just think about the economics. It's passive production from one player, and it's mirrored production from the other, because, you know, both sides have a Mongol. So, like, long-term, this doesn't work out. Another key detail that is worrying is this. Like, you're predictably going to want to move out to these fishing spots. That's a burn point for Wham, and I love the fact that he's already contesting it.
Yeah, he's already sneaking up a tower out there. Looking at the Spearman counts, it's going to be 9 versus 7. So State is going to have enough to hold this position. Problem is that even if Leenock gets to Castle Age, or Feudal Age rather, or when he gets to Feudal Age, he's not going to be able to deal with these Spearmen immediately.
Oh. Awkward of detail of 2 people having a micro spears versus 1. Of course, it gives a little bit of clash in favor of State, but need to be careful not to get split like this. There's more damage now being done to State. Another awkward issue is, like, you know, you're going to be slowed down your tech up more so than the other 2 players combined. So they'll be able to get hardened Spearman quicker. You need to get initial good trades here if you're State.
Yeah, he's getting some Oh, that's actually ugly.
No, he's
yeah, I just jinxed him, I feel. With a half sentence, I did.
I mean, he's going to get wiped here. I don't know if you can even try to rebuild this. He's trying to get more Spearmen out, but remember, you're always going to be behind here. On the upside is Leenock trying to yoink the Khan on the backside, but even that's difficult to do.
And look at that. Leenock was so distracted that he didn't even notice the tower coming up on the pond. That villager was completely undefended, yet he still managed to get the tower up.
Still, State taking heavy damage, trying to bait them in range of the TC to give somewhat of a decent exchange for him, but numbers still clearly in favor of the Canadian bros. And we're talking about that difference. You're starting to see it. Wham is now already teching up towards Feudal Age. State is going to be heavily delayed because of these reinvestments he keeps making.
Yeah, I mean, part of the military school now comes into play, right? It's something that you get for free, the production. So when it comes to the value on the playing field versus the resources spent, it's better on Wham's and Poppy Paw's side, especially when you even lure the boar in.
Could we just, like, this has to be the most hilarious start to a game we've had so far. It's just 3 players with Dark Age Spearmen running around going, ah! Because they know they don't want to be part of this tedious fight. But it looks like Leenock is finally getting the counter out. Love that he done this because, you know, you just see all these spears. You can't build knights, right? You have to go archers.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't know if this is just desperation saying, okay, there's no way I deal with this without archers, or this was just like, oh yeah, that was the plan the whole time. Whatever it is, he finally pushes this away, but damage was done. And especially given that State wants to go for the silver tree, it's not just wanting to go for the silver tree, he does go for it. They are still going to need knights on the playing field. Knight production that has been slowed down quite a bit from Leenock.
Poppy Paw, I believe he went for the sheep, considering he doesn't have a meta, which is a little bit surprising. Most players
he still
now
has a
like
vizier
to
point.
go. Oh, sorry, yeah, you're right. I'm an idiot. It's because I hear that noise. I always like. I think, yeah, these pro players instantly spend the point. So I'm expecting meta here. Like it used to be people thought the better way to go was to get the 8 sheep and the increased gathering speed, but they realized just how broken an early meta is, especially when you get the movement speed as well.
Yeah, he's got the extra berries. He's got shorefish to work with as well. I feel like on this map, you really don't want to go for the extra sheep.
I would be so surprised if he did.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, we'll see. He's holding it for the moment.
Yeah.
Typically, like I think the build is pretty locked in. By the way, I think unless you have ran out of every piece of food, like you always go meta first. It's just too good.
Yeah, the value is massive in that.
Yeah, it's so hard to kill as well. Like, if you get at this stage of the game, like, it's 180 health on that unit. Nothing's killing that unless you decide to, like, click it into your opponent's base.
Yeah, especially if the opponent doesn't have a big archer ball, and right now that's exactly the case.
Exactly that. Like, think about what we usually say to counter the deli is like, get enough archers to snipe their skull straight away. Well, although it doesn't heal, this meta has 40 more health than a scholar for the deli. Good luck.
Yeah, it could also run away much easier. So you see a big ball of archers coming your way, you're like, okay, I'm out of here.
And oh, wow. This is kind of cool. So he didn't go for Silver Tree, right? But he's actually building Magadai.
Love it. Oh, I love it so much. The idea here with the French and Mongols is that you should be the tempo setter. You should be the team with the higher mobility, possibly the aggressor even, with those knights, so you can get away with a trade behind this. But when Magadai are being made by Wham, first of all, he's gonna have a decent unit to track those knights with, but it's also the fact that he can go in and pick off those traders much easier.
And it's cool you bring up that mobility. That mobility could be pretty spooky. Like, you know, the fact is, like, Wham could even try to sneak in another outpost towards Leenock's base, and Poppy Paw now has that movement speed from the meta. They're essentially just looking to seclude Leenock, to keep State away from the equation as long as possible. And, well, these early raid-ins by the spears aren't going to prevent much the way of gathering, but kind of wacky that Leenock isn't on the fish here, but the berries instead.
That's awkward, to say the least. Feels like he's very much distracted. This is the second time that something like this happens. You see, he's just now moving to the shorefish, but seems to be too distracted by all this aggression coming his way. Well, credit where it's due, he had to micro those archers like crazy against that many spearmen, so there was a reason to be distracted.
And speaking of archers, there's going to be a lot more coming out from Poppy Paw now. You saw the double arch range being dropped, so this way he's going to start snowballing across into a different unit comp. I mean, his unit, quantity at least, is looking pretty damn good right now. Was that 15 spearmen total? So still forcing even more archer investment by State and Leenock.
Yeah, and look at those Magadai. They will never engage with those archers. Only 3 knights on the playing field. And on the other side, Sipahi are not being made. So you would have expected the Leenock team to be the one with the higher mobility, at least at the beginning of this game. But as we go deeper and deeper, turns out it's going to be Wham and Poppy Paw with the mobility advantage.
Well, it's that whole logic, like, you know that Pugpool and Wham want to mass archers, but you can't just go mobility yourself with horsemen and knights. Like, it's just too slow of an escalation compared to what the Ottomans bring. You need to have an answer to the numbers before they escalate. I genuinely think that spearman attack from Pugpool and Wham that you predicted, it set their opponents back. Like, State and Leenock have kind of been stuck behind from that point. It just forced so much investment out of State. Like, he must have built 4, 5, maybe 6 additional spearmen compared to any other player at that stage of the game.
Yeah, for sure. I probably even underestimated the potential of those military schools at the beginning. I expected 2 or 3 spearmen from the Ottoman player, that's it. And then you see 8 or 9 of them arrive, and don't forget, he was also matched up against double production coming from Wham. So when it comes to, once again, the value on the playing field as compared to resources invested overall, that was advantage for Wham and Puppypaw, and they managed to throw off Leenock's early build quite well.
Oh, Meta's here. This is not a fight that you want to take with your State. You have to back away. He at least pushes Puppypaw all the way back to his base, forces him to commit to the walls that aren't even going to secure on the deer. Not that he cares about that. Remember, this build for the Ottoman player, he only needs the Madrasa and a little bit extra food. It's all about wood. In the meantime, it's all about gold. The golden age for the Mongols. Wham is on his way up now towards Castle Age. Expect those lancers to hit the field soon.
Yeah, on the other side, it looks like Leenock also wants to go castle over here, realizing that not much could be done here in feudal. He wants those castle age knights. But, as
why?
I said...
It feels a bit weird, right, as a French player to rush Castle Age here.
Yeah. If anyone, I would have expected State to rush castle.
Yes.
Even if you go Royal Institute, even if you get those beefy knights, how many of them do you have on the battlefield? It's 4 knights.
Exactly.
Barely anything.
And that's the thing. Like, unless you think you need Arbitraire, but, like, you know, I could see kind of a desire for Arbitraire against this Archibald with the Pavis, but I just think you get immobilized. Like, I don't think you're able to fully utilize it. So you can't even argue that you need Castle for Arbors. The reason why State's not rushing Castle is quite simple. He's going trade, right? He needs to get the initial trade online, but that's not going to be for free. This Archibald is big enough to counter him. In fact, he could lose all the traders. He needs to run for the high hills. I mean, honestly, like, he can't defend them. If he tries to defend them here, he's going to lose everything. Sapar, he's also baiting him in, so he has to target them down first, which means the archers can finish off practically all the traders and back away in time.
Yeah, exactly. He either sacrifices all the archers or he sacrifices some of the traders. He decided to sacrifice the traders, but still, it's just pain. Not just because he lost traders, it's because it has been revealed clearly to his opponents that he's trading. So, obviously, you see the silver tree, you think there could be trade, but now you have visual confirmation, and that trade is going to be exposed to future raids because of this.
Yeah, and you see he just keeps checking on. It's like, what's going on over here? Now, you won't find more traders, but you will find a villager trying to extend the outpost line. The only solution that maybe State would have, right, is if you get enough of these outposts up, well, this is just Archabalds. They can't dive you, but not able to secure that. And also, Archer count is starting to lean towards Puppypaw. Like, he's only just behind what State has, but more importantly, he has that attack speed buffer at all times. And another thing to consider, he has that movement speed buffer that usually a Mongol player would have, but State didn't go for the Deer Stone, so his infantry do not move faster.
Yeah, knight numbers now up to 6, but only 6 for Leenock. He's still not going to Castle Age, though. If we look at the resource banks, I think he's the one with 1,000 food and 600 gold in the bank that you see at the bottom left. Actually, I'm wrong, because he's just not going up. And... No, that's Puppy.
That's Puppypaw. Yeah, that's the natural scaling that happens here, right? Like, you don't use much food, you gather a little bit of gold on the side. It's all about wood for this build. And looks like he's now going to start teching his way up.
Oh, no.
Institute is also being built up by Leenock, but he gets scattered out. Wham doesn't have many knights up here, so can't prevent this indefinitely, but considering the timing on this, I mean, Leenock, he only has 6 knights, and he's going Castle Age with a Royal Institute.
I really dislike this. This could very well be a Hail Mary play, hoping that Royal Bloodlines will save the day, but for that, you need a ton of resources, you need a ton of time, and it was spotted, as you said. This is a go sign for Wham and Puppy, and they could just dive State here, wipe him out before those knights become a factor.
State, he's like, can I go through this tree line? Is this safe? Nope, not unless you cover yourself in butter and try and squeeze on through, son. And oh my god, just like the archers and one Sipahi, the damage actually isn't as bad as you think.
And that's a matter. That's actually worse. Oh no, where's the matter at? Oh, he's at the back line.
No, he's at the back. If the meta could attack as well, I'd have some very firm words for Relic, but...
Yeah, I get confused a little bit.
It's actually
you still gotta be
funny
cautious not to lose it, though.
Yeah,
Hello?
it looks like he's going to get sniped out. I think Puppy Paul's just not paying attention right now. He's too busy getting his deck up, prepping for what's next.
Ah, that's an ugly loss.
It's still a heavy eco hit to state, though. You know, Puppy Paul, he can at least replace the meta. I don't think he's even noticed just yet. Does also mean State in the meantime can try to take a clash here, as long as he doesn't get ambushed by a Maga now.
Oh, nice ambush, though, out there, picking off some more villagers.
Is it really an ambush if you just stand out in the open, they run into you? Like, what's the ambush there? Surprise! We didn't open our eyes. Whoops.
Lancer shifting focus to the right side as well. Vem is going to have a couple of those out there. Leenock is slowly building up those knight numbers, but every once in a while, from Wham, there comes a couple of Lancers, shuts down the food eco, and this is just slowing Leenock down so much. It's going to take forever for him to have good knight numbers and Royal Bloodlines in as well.
Yeah, and I'm still not seeing like the value for Leenock here. You know, maybe if he was thinking Arbitrary as a redeeming factor, which maybe wouldn't be that bad of an idea against the enemy's comp, but no, it's still knights, and a slow progress towards more knights at that. Lancers are now arriving, so Wham, willing to clash in this area, and you need to be careful because you don't have many Royal Knights to work with. Attack speed arrow is going to come out. It's going to allow him to push forward. And remember, you don't have the meta, but you do at least initially have that. State has got a decent side Archer ball here. No new metas have been added in by Puppy Paw, so this will be a win for Kimchi jjigae. Will force Wham to retreat. No way he can protect Puppy Paw indefinitely.
Yeah, Archer upgrade coming in a little too late here for Puppy Paw. They took this fight before that upgrade finished, so most of the Archers are gone, but still, they're able to get a decent engagement over here. Feel satisfied with the fact that they pick off some Archers here from State. There has to be something else happening on the other side of the playing field for this to be worth it for them, though.
It just feels like Puppy Paw was waiting for the upgrade. I think you're right that. Like, there's not that many more Archers coming through. There's at least a few raids being cycled in by Wham, right, as 10 Lancers total. But this was most of Puppy Paw's army. He's now just waiting at home for the layer that has a Maganel with it, so next time he comes in, State can't even think about fighting.
Yeah. Love the addition of Textiles by Leenock, by the way. He's been raided so much. Lost quite a few villagers. Textiles is actually insulating him a little bit. It's going to help negate the effects of those raids. Actually, no Textiles. How are those Knights and Lancers so crappy then?
I mean, if they don't use their charge, it'll take them 2 strikes if they miss their charge, which sometimes happens, right? When you like re-click when you're close by. Yeah. Why are Castlade Knights so bad, guys? Just stop building them. They suck. Please stop building them in my games. They hurt. I don't like losing. Stop beating me with them. Right now, he's just kind of getting beaten in. Like, the problem is, despite the fact that fight looks a little bit shaky that we saw earlier, the big one from Free Beavers in a Turkey, they've done it near their opponent's base, and Kimchi jjigae are still not out of their base. They're just pinned in. This is a problem, because it means that State can't reboom trade. Their initial resources are starting to dry up. Like, where do you go from here? I'm especially worried for Leenock. Like, he's exhausted the back ponds first. He has to move forward now.
Not only the ponds, the gold mines. Look at the gold mine positions. All of them are on the front. In fact, I'm actually wondering whether Leenock is right now mining gold. He could very well...
Honestly...
he's on the northern side on that large gold mine, but he might have been off from gold for quite a while. Yeah,
okay, here's the bigger issue, right? He has to build farms. He started building farms at home. Like, that's it. That feels almost game losing for most civs, especially at this stage in the game. You never want to have to rush towards farms. You always want to play pocket ecos the best you can, especially in a 2v2.
Yeah, now it's kind of shifting into that 2x1v1 setup that we've talked about sometimes. It's Knight versus Knight on the left side, and then just a steamroll of a Castle Age Ottoman player against a Feudal Age Mongol player on the right side. If Leenock is shifting to the right side, his eco's gonna get destroyed by the Lancers. If he leaves State alone, State won't be able to stop this.
I mean, honestly, I don't know where State's trading anymore. He's got 10+ traders. I don't feel like I've seen them actively being able to trade for a long time now. This is just gruesome. Okay, so he's going into Leenock's base. Oh my god, I don't want to even know how bad the number is on that. Just stop it, please. It's burning my retinals.
Well, we won't know the number because the Lancers will just force them back. Some of them actually garrisoning inside the tower.
Oh god, no, get it off my screen. 76 gold? Why even bother? Oh, good lord, it feels painful. And now, like, State, he can't defend his own base. One Maganel breaks him because he went full Archibald. That's all he has. You can even now see Janissaries being added in by Puppy Paw. He's going to have the answer to this heavy cavalry comps from Leenock. Honestly, if any stage the Canadians get their army together, they can just break a base. But right now, they're slowly just whittling both down.
I feel like the big question right now is, do you need to get the armies together? I think they're perfectly fine with what's happening right now. Knight versus Knight on the left side, shutting down Leenock's eco, because while Leenock has the numbers to match those Lancers, he is still the one pursuing. His idle eco is still there, whereas on the other side, there is no economy damage done. And on the other side, this is a dominant army over what State is gonna have available in Feudal Age. So I think they're actually better off splitting the armies and just doing what they do right now.
Oh no, no, not again. Actually, yes, yeah, no, I don't want to see them. I want to see the pathetic numbers they return. Get rid of them, you're doing State a favor. Unless he builds more of them, in which case that this is a vicious cycle that will never end. I mean, honestly, they don't have any way of defending, and oh my god, it's coming.
Uh-oh. Here
Siege
they
Apocalypse
come.
time. And remember, Poppy4, he's passively building trebuchets behind this, so they'll have a base breaker very soon. I mean, honestly, at this stage, they've pretty much just broken Kimchi jjigae. I'm surprised that they're kind of hanging in there. Like, I don't think State has anything else to offer. He still can't reach Castle Age. And Leenock's army, like, that's the only reason I don't think they've called GG, is they have almost 20 of these French Knights, but I don't think they're upgraded in any way because it never feels like Leenock has the resources for it.
Yeah, the state of the game just feels terrible right now for for Kimchi jjigae enjoyers, rather.
And it's just, honestly, I just every time we watch State, it's like he's just being held hostage by this one Maganel. If only they had like a cavalry player that could kill him, right?
Yes and no. Like the moment those knights come over, Leenock is
yeah,
there.
he's
knows
just gonna
that.
get shish kebabs. Exactly. There's just so many spears. I mean, there's also Janissaries mixed in there. It feels very uncomfortable.
Here they come.
Well, State is making his way up, by the way. So
better late than never.
Well, the problem with this is the moment it gets spotted, like they're either going to double down on Leenock or they'll turn onto State. Because if you look, Poppy4's position is he's parked between the two bases. He's not made a choice yet. He wants a reason to. And oh, come on!
Revenge.
I know it's free, but give it some respect. We got it, boys. We got the mag. What do you mean that was the second mag in it? Oh no.
Such pain. Looks like Leenock is going to commit. Does he have royal bloodlines? That's a big question.
I don't think he does, although
Yeah, me neither.
Poppy4 doesn't have any sort of royal bloodline thing for his villagers, so this might be a problem.
Yes, could be annoying.
Yeah, he got royal bloodlines, and also Poppy4 needs to get out of here. This is way too greedy. So many villagers out in no man's land. But this is now an opportunity. He says, okay, it's greedy in a different way for you as well. You brought your main army away from home when State was teching up. That's someone they can punish.
Exactly. And many of those knights are heavily damaged. There are some spearmen nearby. Janissaries are no pushover either. And you see, slow and steady, the yellow group of archers is disappearing from the playing field.
It's kind of ugly. Half the army just basically gets wiped out, right? He's still got 60 in the field, sure, but these are premium units, hard to replace. And we have to remember, Leenock, he's playing 1 TC. He's been playing pocket ecos. He's still transitioning to full farms. That's 75 wood per villager. Sets you back heavily, especially if you need to reboom the army.
Yeah, especially when you're down 50 eco, because if you look at the top of the screen, it's 50 eco and 50 army advantage now for Ram and Poppy. The
Wait,
lead is
they're
still
traded now
gigantic. Yeah.
Poppy4 has just started trading, so we might be seeing more Janissaries on the horizon as a result of this. Something that I don't think they are fully prepped for. And this Archer Ball just feels hard counted by that Mango still. So difficult, so much to ask. I mean, whoa, hold on a sec. Poppy4, bro, are we going for the castle drop? I think we are. He's got 719 stone in the bank. Just got the final drop off, so this is going to park them there indefinitely. That's going to prevent trade indefinitely, and there's nothing that State and Leenock can do about it.
Lovely positioning for that keep. It's going to split the opposing team into half. No more chance for them to connect those armies, and as you said, State was struggling mightily against those Mangonels. It's going to be very difficult to link up with the cavalry player now to deal with that. Ugly hits as well, that army.
Well, are they just practicing some new strategy? Like, if you run at the rock hard enough, you'll break it. I don't think you want to do that, buddy. I think that rock's still going to break you in return. I mean, it's heavy damage to State's army. He doesn't have any way of healing it either. You know, he's not making a hard pivot. Like, he has 1 man at arms. I feel really bad for State in this game. Like, he has a rough road ahead of him. Even if they somehow win this, you'll feel like you lost it. And for that reason, they will just admit defeat anyway. Map 1 will go to 3 Beavers and a turkey.
I think the fact that they decided to tap out before a devastating engagement just tells you how big of an advantage Poppy and Wham had for the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game. it was essentially their game. State and Leenock tried to climb back into it, but they never managed to succeed. And while that raid was actually pretty remarkable at like the 22-minute mark on the base of Puppey, it also meant that Leenock sacrificed most of his knights, and from that point on, they couldn't stop a keep drop. 2 players get cut in half, and State just didn't have an army to stop that push from Puppey with. Convincing game here from 3 Beavers and a Turkey. Move on to match point.